Hey everybody, welcome to Paperclipping. I'm your host Noelle Hyman, and today I want to share with you a design concept that looks intricate, but it's actually really easy to do. It involves using lots of little bits and pieces, such as your leftover scraps or your pattern papers that are divided into pieces that you cut up. This is a design concept that you can use again and again, but get a different look every time. So let's get designing pages for today's episode of Paperclipping. I'm pretty much done with this layout, except that I haven't taped down this photo yet, and that's because I want to show you the cutout blank spot there and where I got the idea for this page. So originally this sticker was on this sticker pack here, and I had cut out the word our. It said be yourself, but I wanted the word our in cursive for a different layout, and I figured I would just never use this sticker. But as I was moving things around and using stuff, I happened to have a pile of these square punched photos sitting next to this sticker pack, and it occurred to me that my photo, one of these square photos, was big enough to cover that blank spot there. And then I figured your brain would fill in the gaps and figure out that that says be yourself. So my initial idea for this layout had to do with this sticker. I thought I could have it taking up a kind of a line that goes across this way, and then have the photos trickle down. And a lot of times that's how my layouts start. If I have an idea initially in my head, it's a really vague, blurry picture. And a lot of times it's inaccurate. And in this case, it was inaccurate because in my mind, this sticker would take up much more space this way. Once I figured out, after laying it down, that this sticker wasn't really big enough, and I had this idea of it taking up much more space, well, that's where the rest of the idea for the layout came. And this is a great way for you to use up old scraps and new stuff. So let me show you what's old. This right here, this piece is very old. I don't know how old it is. This right here is one of my oldest pieces. I bought this paper back when I first started paper clipping 6 years ago. And then I've got these here, maybe 1 or 2 years old. That was one banner that was too big, so I just cut it and spread it out, which is a great way to spread out color evenly across your page. Same thing with this. This little scrap right here was cut in half, or kind of in half, and spread out across the page. And these are stickers from the same paper pack. So now it says, promise me just one thing, be yourself. And then I added this Brad, and it says, and love it. And so by knowing that I wanted to have a structure that goes across this way and down this way, I could just add little scraps to fill in that space and make it look a little bit messy. But also it's definitely got a structure that goes like this. So I've got this as a new piece from the Amy Tangerine line. This is the paper underneath this square window is, and same with this little tiny scrap here, and also this. And then you can take these blank ones. If you have these, some of the newer paper pads have a lot of these blank square pieces or rectangular pieces, and that's where you can add some embellishments. And then you can use the embellishments to add dimension, but also, again, to fill in these little spaces. So I had this awkward space right there, and I was able to just tuck in these two little people pieces right there. I also had this awkward empty space there, and so I filled it in with a sticker. Because I wanted this to have a real freeform look, I knew that I didn't want it to be real clean white, and so I wanted to add some mist. And so if you know what your underlying structure is, then you can add your mist ahead of time and know where to place it. And so I knew that I needed most of my mist to be more this way, because my main line would be here, so I added a lot of my droplets and things right over here this way. And I followed that same up and down line here. Now this is to balance off this. Actually, the butterfly is, because I have so much of my weight kind of far over in this area. I needed to balance it by adding this butterfly. But then this piece right here really doesn't take any visual space or doesn't add much visual weight at all, because it kind of blends in. It's a really light neutral color. So that I could add another bit of information or item that I wanted on there without really adding visual weight. This is all I needed to counter this. In case you haven't recognized it yet, this is based on one of my flexible templates. It's the off-centered T template, and that's where you have one line over here about 1/3 of the way from the side, and a horizontal line again 1/3 away from the top, and it intersects where your focal point is. So here's the original layout that I shared based on the off-centered T. There's the vertical and the horizontal. Here's another one that I shared in that video where the lines go this way. And so you can see that you can update these templates with whatever new trend or interesting idea that you have and get a completely different layout. Let's put a layout together now, and we're going to start with this photo here. This is yet another day where we go homeschool and do some work at Starbucks. And I really love the colors in this photo with this pure light blue and the purple and red. And so I'm going to stick with these colors as my pieces. And I'm going to do some spray, but this time, instead of having my spray alongside the main line, I want to go counter to my two main lines. I'm going to try a diagonal. And I'm not going to completely spray it. I'm going to actually flick some drops. So let's go ahead and flick some drops in a diagonal. And so far it's not flicking. There we go. It's not quite going where I want it, but that's how it goes with these drops. Okay, so a lot of times when I can't get, there we go, a lot of the drops to come out, or if I want bigger ones, I use my paintbrush. I can usually get bigger spots that way. There we are. I added a second color of mist. It's just a different shade of purple, just for some variation. And now that it's dry, I can add my photo here. And I went and I found some blue pieces. Some of them are old and some of them are brand new and some paper packs. And I'm going to start building up my structure. And I'll start with this because it's the biggest piece. And I think that's the best way to start, is with your bigger pieces. And then I'm going to build up from here. So since these are close in width, I'll put this up here, and I might move things down a little bit. And then to make a visual triangle of blue, I can put this over here. So now I've got balance of blue. And I want to add some red now. So I've got these red pieces and I've got that right there. So my first idea is to put this here, but it feels a little crowded. And I actually want this photo over a little bit more, so it's 1/3 of the way over where the eye really wants to land. And so I'm going to bring this down here instead. So you can see that you can build out your lines. They don't have to be an exact straight line. You can kind of have them building out in different directions. This piece could go here, except now it feels top heavy. So I want the wider piece to go on the bottom, and it's still making visual triangles of both colors. I want to add some neutrals to go with the gray in the sweater and the skin tones. I really like the skin tones in this picture, but I don't really love it on the white. So I've found some cream and some kind of grayish neutral pieces. And I need something for that space, and everything's too big. So I think I can fit this little bird in here because the bird can overlap the photo, and that'll look good. And then I've got these pieces. So this will make a nice line going across here. And then this scalloped piece will add some nice variety to all the blockiness over here. And then this I can just fit right in that little space there. And the last thing I'm missing is more purple. I really need more purple. It turns out I went through all my stuff and I don't have anything purple. I don't have any purple scraps, no new purple, but I do have this tie-dye piece that I had made. I've cut it up now, but I made this tie-dye piece in a different episode of Paperclipping, and it's got some purple in it. So I've cut it up. I've got one piece that's the same width as this, so I can just continue my line this way. It doesn't have to be the same width. I could do multiples of something else, but this is where I'm going right now with this one, and I've cut a long piece that I can go here, and I might need to shorten that up a little bit, but I can fit that one here, and then I can fit this piece right up here. So once again, I'm going with a visual triangle here, and now I'm going to add some embellishments, and especially some purple embellishments, because I want more purple than this. I found some pieces that can be sprayed in my stash, and so I used the same purple, and I've got this, and so this is great because not only is it dimensional and it's purple, but also it breaks up the blockiness. And I've got this. I think I'll put it somewhere like that. I may rearrange it slightly because there's that gap there. And then I've got my little people here. One for each of the four of us. And a little part of the story is the fact that our oldest son is missing from the picture here because he's at regular school. Well, we homeschool, the rest of us do. And so they can fit in that little box there. And just to complete that visual triangle, I've got this, and also to complete the visual triangle of neutrals. I guess that kind of does it, but I really want to add this piece here too for more visuals and more going on around the focal point. The last thing I need to deal with is that gap there. I found this metal arrow spinner from Tim Holtz to go in this gap here. And really, there's all kinds of things you can do about these awkward little gaps. You could use stamps or rub-ons. You could do a whole line of brads or just a few brads. Anything that you've got that's small, you just look through your stash to fill in any little spaces that just feel awkward and are calling attention. So it's really fun, and just do whatever you need to fill in all the little spaces to move toward that structure. So it doesn't have to be an exact structure of lines going this way, but you're building up toward the idea of it, and you're using that structure as kind of your guide for how you can place little things. Now I am going to add in a little bit of journaling right here in a light color, sort of like this color but a little bit darker, in one of Tim Holtz's distress markers, just to add my journaling here, so it won't take up any visual weight because it'll be in a light neutral color. We're going to do another partial layout. We're not going to do the whole thing, but I want you to see how quickly it can come together. If you use these kits, these little die cut kits from one of your scrapbook lines, and you take some of these paper pads that have these little pieces and cut them up ahead of time, what I do is after I've cut up those pieces, I just put them right in with these little packaged die cut kits so they're all together. So this right here from Amy Tangerine came from this piece of paper, and I've just cut it up with the other pieces like this one, and I just stick it in with my die cuts. So that makes it really easy to put these together. I'm going to show you how fast it can be, and also if you want to use up your scraps, then you can go through your pile of scraps before you start this first step of laying it all out, and just grab some pieces that match or coordinate with your line, and then you can just start adding the pieces in one by one. So we'll start with a photo here, and as I look through my little kit of stuff here, I find these different pieces like hello there. So this is a picture of Trinity had bent down to do something on the floor. The dog jumped on her back, and he always does that when you bend down. And he does it to all of us. And so I like the idea of hello there, and then it's definitely funny, and because I've got blue here, I'm going to add blue here. So I'm just taking pieces from my little kit, and I'm just building up those lines that I've talked about. It doesn't take much thought at all, just paying attention to the colors you're adding. So here I'm adding kind of a pink line that goes across with a camera in between. So maybe I'll kind of move it over this way. And I've got this piece of yellow that was a scrap. I think I'll maybe cut it here. I like that there's a heart punched out of it that I'd used for something else. So I think I'll put that there as part of this vertical line. And maybe this can go here, and this can intersect with the pink. And here's a little number 2 as part of that kit, which, you know, one very quickly became 2, so I think that goes well. Here I've got this tiny little scrap that was from my scraps, and I can just fit it into this little corner here. Maybe stick this up on top. And you can see how very quickly a layout is coming together. I just need to add a title, some embellishments. I may fool with the details a little bit here and there, but that took me maybe a minute or 2. Hopefully you can see how this one design concept helps you to know where you can place things without telling you exactly where to put them. And so you can use this one idea again and again for a lot of variety. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, have fun paper clipping.